Alrighty, so it's time to do the review of these two FIFA Club World Cup game involving MLS team. We're going to look at the Seattle Sounder and Botafogo that happened on Sunday, and then we are also going to look at the game that happened earlier between Chelsea versus LAFC. And I gotta say, when it comes to both of these games, they're eerily kind of similar in the fact that I think both of these MLS teams definitely put a respectable fight against their opposition. Obviously, I knew that coming into this game, both Seattle and LAFC probably have no chance against their opposition. I mean, for Seattle, they're basically playing against a Copa Libertadores winner, and I think they're the defending Copa Libertadores winner, that is Botafogo. And then LAFC, of course, facing against Chelsea, that pretty much have won all the European trophies, including just recently in the UEFA Conference League title as well. So yeah, I knew that coming in to both of these games that MLS team probably have no chance in terms of getting a win against their opposition. They probably might be lucky if they can get a draw out of it. But what is kind of interesting is the fact that, both of these teams kind of got off to a slow start, and that's MLS team against their opposition that is. And then both of these teams kind of grew into the game in the second half to a point where they probably could have got something out of this game had they showed the clinical finishing. But one thing that at least Seattle can definitely boast themselves is that out of the three MLS team after match day number one in the group stage of the Club World Cup, they're the only team to be able to score a goal in this one. Now, in the first half, I want to just also mention the fact that I didn't know Botafogo have a player that is also called Igor Jesus. So obviously, I want to mention that because we know about Igor Jesus with LAFC, but I didn't think that was such a common Brazilian name, especially the fact that the first name itself, it's kind of a Slavic kind of Russian sound kind of name that I didn't think we were going to have another Brazilian that is also called Igor Jesus. And just like the LAFC one, this Igor Jesus definitely made a big impact for Botafogo in this one. The other thing I want to mention is, yeah, there was a lot of empty seat in the stadium. And I already mentioned this in my review earlier that it's been a mixed bag when it comes to the attendance so far in the FIFA Club World Cup. You have some games that are absolutely packed and the atmosphere is absolutely insane, just like what we saw earlier today between Boca Junior and Benfica. And then you have games like this one where, yeah, Seattle definitely opened up the full stadium, but they might as well not have to do it. They might as well just do the same thing they usually do when it comes to playing MLS game. Just kind of open the first 200 level and don't even bother opening the upper deck because there was a lot of empty seats inside the stadium. And mind you, this is a 7 p.m. kickoff on a Sunday, so I mean it's still ideal. I mean 7 p.m. for on a Sunday, I know there's work the very next day, but you got to remember the kids are also out of school. So I was assuming that we're going to be more Sounders fan attend this game as well. But that being said, not much really happened early in this game as Seattle had lots of possession. They actually were dictating the play in this one. They mentioned Botafogo is kind of a team that likes to hit on the transitional play, so I guess this is no surprise the Sounders had most of the possession early on. Jesus had a shot that was blocked, but it fell back to Guimaraes, who puts it wide there in the 10th minute. By the way, as I've already mentioned in my Inter Miami Ali video, I do apologize if I'm going to completely mispronounce some of these players' name. I'm not familiar with some of these names that is, although I would be absolutely embarrassed if I mispronounce some of the Chelsea name because as I'll mention in a bit, that's my team. Basically, I root for in Europe. But in the 13-minute, Jesus would head it right to Fry before Fry denied Tellez from close range. As Botafogo started to heat up a little bit, they started press for the opener. This is kind of where I expected that. Yeah, this is where the pressure the Sounders going to have to absorb. The first shot for the Sounders, see for puts that one high before Rusnak puts it high from close range. So a shot for a penalty for the Sounders not given, but then in the 29th minute, Botafogo finally broke through. It's Cunha. He scored from Teles to make it 1-0 in favor of Botafogo. And yeah, this was really a self-inflicted mistake from Seattle. Indirectly, I would say, because they gave up a free kick that was really needless. I think it was Nuhu, the one that made the foul there. And I gotta say, Nuhu this season, it's been a struggle this season for Nuhu. I mean, I know he is still a fan favorite in Seattle, but this season he just have not looked good whatsoever, both in this game and also in league play as well. And here he just made a silly mistake to commit made a free kick opportunity for Botafogo, and yeah, Botafogo basically punished the Sounders because of that needless free kick, and just like that, they leave it 1-0 in this game, and then just 14 minutes later, they make it 2-0 as Igor Jesus, the one from Botafogo, that is, he scored from De Silva to make it 2-0 in favor of Botafogo, and that would be the scoreline heading in the second half. And this is when I'm thinking, oh boy, this could get ugly in terms of this game, especially that Botafogo look like they're well and truly on their way to get a big number of score line. But as I mentioned earlier, it feels like MLS team have made some good adjustment at halftime because heading in the second half, the Sounders look like a different team. Oh, first of all, Fry did deny Guimaraes from close before De Silva hits it onto the roof of the net as Botafogo kind of picked up where they left off. They were looking for the third goal. Jesus then puts it over from long range. I thought the Sounders had no answer in terms of dealing with the transitional play. They struggled dealing with the transitional play against Minnesota a couple of weeks ago, and it's no surprise they're struggling once again dealing with the transition that Botafogo was being made. Though in the 58th minute, they did make the first save on the Botafogo goalkeeper as Victor denied Rusnak, but it falls to Reagan, who just couldn't quite hit that one cleanly. Teles would then puts it over from long range before Ober Vargas would put it wide from close in the 67 minutes. Seems like Botafogo was kind of happy to try to see this one out at 2-0 because again the Sounders started to have more of the possession and started to create a little bit of chances, but at the same time with them kind of sitting back, they were just trying to make the Sounders job hard to break them down. It didn't work though, because in the 75th minute, Seattle got one back. As Christian Rodon, he scored from Rothrock to make it 2-1 in this game. It took a deflection and goes in, but Sounders wouldn't care. They were back in this game, and yeah, seems like Botafogo clearly didn't get the memo because as I mentioned before, technically I think they designated this game as the home team, but in reality, Seattle is the home team in this one. And yeah, when you're the road team and you're trying to bunker her down. That's always doesn't work out, and now it gets interesting. And now I'm just thinking Seattle might do this. De La Vega then whiffs one on the top of the arc. Yeah, that is one that Pedro De La Vega will want to have back. He had some great chances in this game that couldn't convert. But like I said, the momentum was with the Sounders. They were pressing to try to get the equalizer. Roth Rock with flash one wide from long range in the 85th minute before Fry denied Corey roll from close range. De La Vega then hits one right to Victor in the 4th minute of stoppage time, and despite the fact that the Sounders put a lot of pressure late to try to get the tying goal, they weren't able to do so. But still, very respectable effort there from the Seattle Sounders this one, and they actually outshot Botafogo in this one. 23 shots compared to 12 that Botafogo has, 6 shots on goal compared to 4 that the Sounders had, 8 shots off target compared to 4 that Botafogo has, 1 shot that was blocked compared to 7 that Seattle has, and possession-wise, 60% possession compared to the 40% possession that Botafogo has in this game. I've heard some Botafogo fans say that this was definitely one of the worst performances that they play in their season. So I'm not quite sure if this is the level that Botafogo, of course, show. I mean, we knew that coming into this game, the Sounders were pretty much going to be the team that is gonna be giving points away to opposition at will. I mean, when you look at the group that they've been drawn, they are drawing possibly the worst group you can draw for an MLS team facing against the defending European champion in PSG and Atletico Madrid. And yeah, I believe they do they if I remember the schedule, I think they play Atletico Madrid next, and then they finish off with PSG, or it's the other way around. Either way, it's gonna be interesting to see how they will face against those two giants, especially PSG as well, because let's just hope it's not going to be a situation like what we saw between Auckland and Bayern, where Bayern basically won 10-0 in that one. I don't think it's going to be the case. I don't think the Sounders going to lose 10-0 to PSG itself. But one thing I will say for sure is that they definitely put up a good showing in this game. And again, if they would have just shown their clinical finishing, they probably get something out of it. If they did get something out of it, I think that's not only consider a win for the Seattle Sounders, but it's just a win in general for MLS because coming into the tournament there was not a lot of expectation for MLS team to do well. The MLS team was just going to be probably going to just lay down to the superior South American and European team, and so far it hasn't really quite happened so far. I mean, we see these free games involving MLS team, and it's been relatively competitive, and that include this game between Chelsea and LAFC. And again, coming into this game, I was so conflicted because, as I mentioned, Chelsea is the team that I root for if I'm not rooting for an MLS team, and obviously now that for those that don't know who, of course, I root for in Europe and in the Premier League. There you go. Chelsea is that team to do so. And again, I'm conflicted because I want Chelsea to win. I want them to do well in this tournament. But at the same time, I also want to hope that LAFC can do well as well. Being an MLS sicko myself, I always want to root for MLS team to do well in the world stage, even if it's some of the more more hated MLS team that I have to root for. I mean, when you look at this tournament itself as a Minnesota and Quakes fan, it's kind of hard to root for Seattle, LAFC, and Miami at the same time, considering those three are kind of near the bottom of my list in terms of favorite team in MLS. But still, as an MLS sicko, I have to kind of root for them. And for LAFC again, just like Seattle, they really was outplayed in the first half, but in the second half, they really grew into this game and really kind of give Chelsea a little bit of scare in the second half, but it's the same story. They just couldn't find that clinical finishing to really pull off a big result against Chelsea. Now, in the first half, just like in this game, the stadium was pretty much empty. Though I would say it's even more emptier than what we saw at Lumen Field. I mean, it was pretty much an empty stadium. And again, I don't understand why FIFA couldn't just move some of this venue and move some of these games with LAFC playing at the Rose Bowl, because you're gonna have games that's going to be taking place in the Los Angeles area. And I guess maybe it's due to the proximity, and each of these team has like a different region that they play, that is the case. And of course, LAFC got invited in the tournament relatively late in that playing round, but still, I feel like if this was at the Rose Bowl, it would have been definitely a bigger draw. And especially, it doesn't help the fact that it's a 3 p.m. kickoff on a Monday. Yeah, you're not going to draw a lot of fans on a 3 p.m. kickoff on a Monday, especially. People keep forgetting that Americans has to work on the weekday, especially since this is still not really a very prestige tournament. It's just kind of wild, the fact that FIFA is still even attempt to trying to hope that the attendance would be good and hope the viewership would be good if they decided to have a game on Monday. I mean, the viewership might be good in Europe because this is pretty much prime time in Europe. And back in London, it's an 8 p.m. kickoff. But still, for an American audience, especially for the attendance, yeah, you're not gonna get a big draw at a 3 p.m. kickoff. And it's also kind of miraculous, the fact that there was actually a pretty good LAFC supporter. The 3252 actually make the trip to this, so I gotta salute them in terms of making a cross country trip on a Monday, nevertheless, for this game. But yeah, overall, it was a pretty empty stadium. They mentioned only like 20,000 showed up in the game. That and seeing Mercedes-Benz Stadium that empty, I'm not used to seeing that. I mean, yes, Atlanta United this season, I have definitely seen more MTCs around the bends, but this was especially empty. Even for some of the midweek in Atlanta United play, this is probably the most empty I've seen the bends in quite some while. But in the fourth minute, the first shot of the game, C. Cucurella puts it over from close before Nicholas Jackson hits it right to Lloris. I thought Chelsea started well in this one, and again, LAFC, just like Seattle, they're gonna have to suffer. They have to ride out this pressure because they know that they're going to be under the back foot straight away. Lloris would deny my UK from close range, so Lloris had to face against a team that he's very familiar with. Obviously, doing his all his time with Tottenham, he'll probably be a little familiar of facing against Chelsea for his career, though not against these group of Chelsea player, that is. Madueke then hits it wide from close in the 29th minute. The shots were 7-1 for Chelsea half hours in, but in the 34th minute, they finally got the breakthrough. It's Pedro Neto. He scored from Jackson to make it 1-0 in favor of Chelsea. And did I say Neto? Neto. That's how you pronounce it. Again, I got to make sure I pronounce my team name right. Right. It would be an embarrassment for me to not even pronounce my team name right in this one. But yeah, Pedro Neto scored from Jackson to make it 1-0 in favor of Chelsea, and you just kind of sense that was coming. I mean, LAFC was under so much pressure in this one. Eventually, Chelsea was going to break through, and there it is. And if you're LAFC, that's kind of a little disappointing. I mean, you were hoping you can absorb this pressure as long as possible, maybe head to halftime, no, and maybe make some adjustment heading into the second half. But instead, they do go to halftime with Chelsea leading 1-0, and they definitely made the adjustment in the second half, because in the second half they actually started pretty well. It started with David Martinez missed wide from close range, and then he missed wide again, this time in the near post. Again, LAFC, I thought they started the second half the more promising side, finally found need some life and look for the equalizer. Sanchez would then deny Bawanga from close. The shots were 12-5 for Chelsea up to this point. Bawanga had a really good game in this one, and this is a player that again he's not no strangers when it comes to these European stage kind of game. I mean, all his time in Europe and with Saint Etienne, he's gonna obviously be one of the more experienced player in terms of these big games in Europe. But the shots were now 12-5 for Chelsea, but LAFC has outshot Chelsea 3-1 in the second half. I thought Chelsea started really slowly and started flat heading into the second half. Tosun would then hit it right to Lloris in the 62nd minute before Palmer was in on goal there, and this is something you usually do not see Palmer missed out. I mean, I know he kind of had a bit of a rough season, Cole Palmer. He was definitely not the player that I saw when he signed from Chelsea that he's become a star player for this team. But yeah, this is one that deep down he's got to finish this one. But instead he blasts that one to Savannah. Chelsea once again was ramping up the pressure. LAFC need to stay disciplined and hope to ride out the pressure again. And they had a chance in the 71st minute, and this was really the chance. I mean, Ryan Holland's head was there from the top of the arc. The Chelsea player didn't really do a good job closing him down. In fact, they were kind of backing off, daring him to shoot, and that was probably a mistake because Ryan Tollinshead, we have seen him score some long range goal for this LAFC team, and he puts that one over from long range, just over two as well. And again, that was really the chance they had to score that one because Chelsea is going to eventually get a second to kill this game off, and Lord and behold, in the 80th minute. Enzo Fernandez put away the game as he scored from Leon Delap to put this one to bed in this one. Bawanga did look to answer, but he was denied by Sanchez. But just a bad turnover from Chelsea there. Something I don't often say about this team, especially in this game. There was a shout for a penalty for LAFC not giving a third man stoppage time before Neto would puts it just wide from long range in the fourth man stoppage time. And yeah, in the end, Chelsea gets the 2-0 win against LAFC. Again, it was not a bad showing for LAFC in this one. The shots in this one, 18 shots for the 8 that LAFC had, 4 shots on goal for the 5 that Chelsea had, 3 shots off target for the 2 that LAFC had, no shots on block for the 9 that Chelsea had, and possession-wise, 66% possession compared to 34% possession that LAFC has in this game. And unlike Seattle, where I know they probably won't have any shot of getting a point, Miami, maybe they might have a chance, though they are going to have to face some good teams as well. I do think LAFC does have a shot at least to get something or even a win too, because when you look at the next two opponent that LAFC have, I believe they have Flamengo next, and then they have S Tunis, an African team. That is a team I think that could LAFC can definitely get 3 points, especially with the way that LAFC, if they're at their best, we know that they can definitely go against not only the best in MLS, but maybe even the best in the world itself. And they proven in this game that despite they had to suffer a lot, they were able to build those chances. But again, just like the story I said about Seattle, and the same case with Miami as well. If only these MLS team would have finished their chances, being clinical in terms of their chances. Maybe we'll be talking about a story how wow, all of a sudden MLS team is actually doing much better than I thought they would be in the world stage. But yeah, now that all three of these MLS teams have one game under their belt in the Club World Cup, it's gonna be interesting to see how they're gonna do in the second match day and see who is going to finally get the first point. I mean, just getting a 1 point for MLS team out of any of three MLS team is definitely a great thing. Though I don't know if you can say that about Inter Miami, consider they have a bigger aspiration. But really, between both of these teams, getting a point or even all 3 points will consider to be a huge achievement if Seattle or LAFC can do so for the rest of the group stage game. But there you have it. That is pretty much it in terms of looking at both of these game involving MLS team in the Club World Cup. Let me know in the comments below what do you think of both of these games. And yeah, hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you do, make sure to like, smash the subscribe button. And yeah, I of course will see you guys next time.